Where's the best landing spot for him, Stephen A?
Are you ready for this?
Yes.
The Washington Redskins.
Eh.
Everybody keeps saying Jacksonville. Jacksonville doesn't have that much cap space. I mean, them, Philadelphia, a couple other teams, they're pretty much low on that threshold with some of the deals that they've made. The Washington Redskins did sign Alex Smith to a 4-year, $94 million extension. That on top of the money he was already scheduled to earn equates to about 5 years, $111 million. Here's the flip side to all of that. Alex Smith, the broken fibula, and the broken tibia that he suffered November 18th against the Houston Texans. The reality is that in the aftermath of that, he had to deal with an infection issue, and the news came out that he may not be ready for 2019, and quite honestly, that his career may actually be in doubt. The injury was that nasty. I remember I was in D.C. with some loved ones en route to L.A., and that was a nasty, nasty injury. And so we don't know if Alex Smith is going to play again, period. We assume he will, and we pray that he will, but we don't know. And we definitely know that in all likelihood, he's not scheduled to be ready for the 2019 season. In comes a quarterback who happens to be a Super Bowl champion, someone everybody has speculated should really be the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Why is that relevant? It's the same division, not just the same conference, the same division. So you've got Nick Foles, who was once in Philadelphia, once threw 27 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions with Chip Kelly, was exiled for some reason to Jeff Fisher, all right? And obviously his career was going downhill to that point where he actually contemplated retirement, only to resurrect his career by coming back to Philadelphia with Doug Peterson, being a backup, all right? Carson Wentz goes down. He leads you to a Super Bowl championship. He plays in a system that he likes. One of the things about divisional opponents, because that's what they measure themselves by first, albeit the Patriots don't think about that because they know they got the AFC East on lock. But everybody else thinks about the divisional opponents and what does it take to usurp and eclipse those individuals to have success within the division before moving forward. So you study what other people do. And if you are Nick Foles, even though you were benefiting from playing under Doug Peterson, you know those teams also know what Doug Peterson was doing and have the capability to emulate what Doug Peterson did that enabled things to work for Nick Foles. So because of that, I would say the Washington Redskins, because they're in the same division as the Philadelphia Eagles, and they are in desperate need of a quarterback because even their backup, Colt McCoy, ended up breaking his leg. And, of course, they had to resort to using Mark Sanchez, and we all know how that panned out. The Washington Redskins are in desperate need of a quarterback. They're within the division. They're familiar with what Philadelphia does, and I think that would benefit Nick Foles tremendously.
All right. How about this? The Philadelphia Eagles. First of all, to sign and trade Foles to get something for him is tricky, because you got to commit to him. You got to franchise tag him, or else, and then in good faith work out an extension for him. And then you got to find a team who can absorb that money and give up something. What are you going to get from him? If you just let him walk, draft pick compensation, you get a third-round pick. Carson Wentz, has he shown that he can last even a full season in the pros since his rookie year?
As Nick Foles?
No. But the combination of Wentz and Foles has won a Super Bowl. And now let's think about this title defense for a second they tried this year. Do you know how much more successful the Eagles are than most teams that win a Super Bowl the following year, what they did? And Foles did it again. They were left for dead, and Foles did it again. He helped them, lead them into the playoffs, and then once in the playoffs, what did they do? They won a playoff road game against the most ferocious defense in football on the road at Soldier Field. Oh, better not wind up having to go to Soldier Field. No one's going to win that. Bears might mess around and win the Super Bowl. No, the Eagles beat the Bears. Foles leads them. And then goes to New Orleans, which, by the way, at the time, the Saints were considered the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. They were everyone's kind of sexy pick, right? Yeah. Oh, especially at New Orleans. And it was a one-score game late in the game, and Nick Foles was throwing dimes to receivers who was dropping them. They almost beat the Saints at New Orleans. That's how you defend your title, even in a loss. Win a playoff game against a defense like that on the road, and then be in the game up to the last second on the road against maybe the best team in football. Nick Foles on the Eagles with Carson Wentz has resulted in that the last 2 seasons. Why break that up? That's one. Two, if he's going to go somewhere, I have 2 suggestions.
Okay.
If the Giants could somehow get rid of Eli's contract, that would take some doing, because Jacksonville, as you said, could they even work something out, or some place that thinks Eli could help him temporarily, because that's an expiring deal next year. Nick Foles on the Giants makes a lot of sense. With Saquon and Odell, the Giants could then use draft picks to shore up the offensive line. Pat Shermer, by the way, was his offensive coordinator under Chip Kelly when Foles went 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions that year, so he knows what he's got there. Or, dare I say, the Minnesota Vikings. Guys, the Vikings got rid of Case Keenum in favor of Kirk Cousins. Case Keenum had that thing. He kind of won, but he wasn't quite good enough, they felt. Right. Kirk Cousins is good enough in terms of the skills, but is maybe missing that thing, and Nick Foles splits the difference. Good enough skills and great leadership. A quarterback like that on that Vikings team, all of a sudden you're thinking that they're a Super Bowl contender.
You said Giants and Vikings.
Giants and Vikings.
What about Denver?
We appreciate your commitment to letting us know how much you know, because I agree with you, particularly about the Giants. It's just that the question said, best landing spot. You gave us 4.
Well, I gave 3. I gave you 3.
Well, you mentioned
Denver.
You mentioned the 4th, though.
No.
You mentioned the 4th. Oh, she mentioned that. She mentioned
I'm saying
that.
the Eagles is the best landing spot. But if by the question you mean where else can he go? He could
go. But I hear you on the Eagles because, again, Carson Wentz only counts $8.4 million against the cap.
Yeah.
So because he only counts $8.4 million, you're basically saying, excuse me, you got quarterbacks in the National Football League get paid $27, $28 million. So since that's what it would cost the Eagles for 2, why not keep both of them? That's what you're saying, right?